Welcome, fellow denizens of the dark. This is Lance, your host of Strange Bites, where we sink our teeth into wonderfully weird and wild science discoveries. I really appreciate everyone tuning in. If you enjoy the show, please hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast app, leave a quick review, and follow us on social media. Your support truly makes a difference. Now let's dive into today's bite. Tonight we're heading into space. In episode 31, Saturn's phantom spin and the eye that saw through it. In the freezing dark beyond the asteroid belt, where sunlight is a distant rumor, there spins a world wrapped in rings and secrets. For decades, astronomers watched Saturn and heard conflicting heartbeats. Voyager's first whispers in the 1980s and Cassini's long patient stare from 2004 to 2017 told the same uneasy tale. Saturn's rotation rate kept shifting. One measurement said it spun one way, another, taken years later, said something different. A planet the size of nearly 10 Earths, with the mass of 95, should not change how fast it turns on any timescale we could notice. Its deep hidden core should beat with same steady ancient rhythm. Yet the signals, radio waves, magnetic pulses, and the dancing lights off its aurora kept drifting, as if the ring giant itself were hesitating, speeding up, then slowing down again. Scientists scratched their heads in observatories and mission control rooms. How can a gas giant spin wobble like a child's top, running out of steam? Some wondered if the planet's interior had somehow rearranged itself. Others suspected the measurements were catching something else entirely, something living in the thin, stormy veil high above the cloud tops. Then in 2026, a new eye opened in the darkness. The James Webb Space Telescope, that great infrared observer floating 1 million miles from Earth, turned its gaze towards Saturn's northern crown of light, the aurora, the planet's own ghostly version of the northern lights. Using its near-spec instrument, JWST did something no spacecraft had done before. It watched the auroral region continuously for an entire Saturnian day, with resolution finer than 500 kilometers per pixel. What it saw was not a planet changing its spin. What it saw was a self-sustaining deception written in heat, wind, and electric fire. High in Saturn's upper atmosphere, the aurora burns with energy drawn from the planet's magnetic field and the solar wind. That energy does not simply glow and fade. It heats the thin gases above the clouds. Heat creates movement, powerful, invisible winds that race through the thermosphere. These neutral winds do not travel alone. They drag along charged particles, ions, pulling them across the planet's magnetic field lines like invisible hands tugging on cosmic strings. The motion of those ions through the magnetic field generates powerful electric currents. And those currents, in return, feed energy straight back into the aurora itself. A perfect closed loop. The aurora creates the heat births the wind summon the currents strengthen the aurora. Around and around it goes, a self-fed flame dancing in the dark. Because of this loop, the auroral lights and the radio signals tied to them do not move in perfect lockstep with the planet's deep interior. The winds and currents distort the very signals astronomers had been using to hear Saturn's rotation. Depending on which part of the atmosphere you listened to, or which wavelength you watched, the planet appeared to be spinning at different speeds. It was never the world itself changing tempo. It was the stormy, self-sustaining crown of fire and wind high above the clouds, playing tricks on every instrument humans had sent to listen. JWST's maps revealed the structure of this deception in exquisite detail. Temperatures rising and falling, winds flowing in organized patterns, currents aligning exactly where the models predicted they must if the loop were real. The long mystery was never about Saturn's core. It was about the living, breathing veil that wraps the planet like a whispering shroud. When the great eye in the dark finally showed us that Saturn's changing spin was an illusion born of its own auroral fire feeding upon itself, it offered more than an answer to an old puzzle. It reminded us how easily even the most fundamental measurements can be shaped by the medium through which we observe them. We thought we were listening to the heartbeat of a world. Instead, we were hearing the storm in its crown. So what does it mean? Every time we point our telescopes at a distant exoplanet and try to read its rotation, its weather, or the strength of its magnetic field from afar, we must now carry this lesson. The upper atmosphere can lie. It can create self-sustaining cycles of heat, wind, and current that distort the very signals we rely upon. Future missions, whether to the ice giants Uranus and Neptune, or to the atmospheres of worlds beyond our sun, will need instruments capable of peering through these veils, not just at them. On a deeper level, the discovery speaks to something older and stranger about the universe itself. Systems do not merely sit inside other systems. They feed one another. The aurora does not merely decorate Saturn, it helps sculpt the very winds and currents that keep it alive. In that closed loop we glimpsed a truth that applies far beyond one ring planet. Energy, motion, and magnetism are rarely separate. They dance together, sometimes creating illusions so convincing that even centuries of careful watching can be fooled. And perhaps that's the quiet warning hidden inside the revelation. As our instruments grow sharper and we reach farther into the dark, we must remember that what we call truth is often only the clearest signal that survives the storm between us and the thing we're trying to know. Saturn's phantom spin was never a flaw in the planet. It was a flaw in our assumption that the crown of light above the clouds was silent. Now we know better. The lights whisper, the winds answer, and the currents remember. That's it for today's bite. I really appreciate you listening. If you enjoyed the story, hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast app. Give me a follow on social media. And for a deeper dive, you can check out the links in the show notes. Until next time, stay strange and question everything.